Welcome to the Glenkeen Variations ArtNature NatureArt, the inaugural exhibition at the new Crespo House here in Frankfurt am Main. The exhibition brings together for the first time the works of 12 artists and artist groups who have participated in the Foundation's residency program, Glenkeen Garden, in West Cork, Ireland. The work Abecedaire on the Fringes by Lorenzo Rabidiani, Vera Scacce-Barozzi, Luca Travesiani and Francesco Verga focuses on seaweed creatures that live in the space between land and sea. The high tides in Glenkeen Garden create a very large ecotone, space of the shoreline that moves in tidal waves every 6 hours along the day, times covered fully by water and times fully exposed to sun and winds. In this in-between space, these fringes, these margins of the ocean and the edge of land, exist seaweeds, inhabitants of this specific place. In a humorous take on academic categorization, the artists collect these specimens from the ecotones, dry them, photograph them, enlarge them, and eventually print them on textiles that sprawl across the exhibition space. In the video Plant Stress SPF 50, we see the artist Moritz Fehr smearing sunscreen on different plants, leaves, and flowers. Shot entirely in UV filter, this act effectively erases the image by blocking the sun rays from reaching the camera, causing the image to turn black. The work evokes the complex relations of protection and care, especially in the relation between humans and the natural world, and how sometimes what we think of as care and as of help can be at best awkward and at worst harmful. Upon arriving to Glenkeen Garden, artist Markus Huemer fell in love and became obsessed with cryptogams. Cryptogams are plant-like beings that don't have sexual organs, means they reproduce by duplicating themselves and not through sexual encounters. This includes ferns, seaweeds, and certain kinds of beings that are prevalent in Glenkeen Garden. The artist duo brought an actual boulder from Glenkeen Garden. This stone now sits in a circle surrounded by 15 robot arms that slowly scratches its surface. The movement of these robots is linked to a database monitoring 36,000 satellites. Every time a satellite out of this database flies across a 10-kilometer radius of the exhibition space, the robot arms stop their scratching and retreat back. This gives color and highlights what is usually an invisible movement of satellites that on one hand control so many parts of our daily lives, but then again goes mostly unnoticed. Welcome to the Royal Museum of Termitology and Plastic. 36,000 years into the future, termites and cockroaches are the only creatures on the world. Termites have developed in a way that allows them to eat plastic and reproduce it to build their civilization. After many years of prosperity, the plastic, which is a limited resource, is running short. In their attempt to keep their civilization alive, their termites are looking for these magical humans, these godlike creatures who created plastic that fed their civilization. One of the most quintessential Irish landscape elements are boglands, or swamplands. Many of the areas around Glenkeen Garden are also indeed swamplands. In the installation How to Navigate a Bog by artists Max Bruck, Julia Korther and Katerina Sidorova, we find ourselves in an immersive bog-like installation. Bog butter refers to wooden structures with which the old Irish folk were using to ferment butter inside the swamps. Some of these pieces, long forgotten, been rescued now and taken out of the bog, not having aged a day. These bog butter containers caused the artist to think of Ursula K. Le Guin's container theory that claims that perhaps the first instrument devised by mankind were not spears or fighting equipment, but rather containers that just simply did not last the test of time. Alongside the broken ceramic pieces, this installation includes 12 conversations, sound pieces, and interviews that were conducted by the artist with local members of the community around Balady Hop and Glenkeen Garden. In this conversation, the artist talked to the people about their relations to the bogs, about memory, trauma, and myths surrounding these swamplands. It is exceptionally cinematic and highly personal work. Dorian returns to Ireland to revisit family relation, explore foundational myths, and all piece together the puzzle of their own story of becoming. For Ulrike Crespo, Glenkeen Garden was a space for imagination and exploration. Besides expanding her own gardening practice and landscape design, it was a laboratory for her own photographic work. 2 of the series that she created there are also shown in the exhibition. One, Ephemer, focuses on small, fragile, ephemeral objects, whereas Underwater Skin delves into the in-between reflective space at the edge of the water surface of Roaring Water Bay. The author and writer Jan Wagner spent a whole month in Glenkeen Garden. His writing from that time, under the title Notes from the Bay of the Roaring Waters, are printed alongside the exhibition catalogue. Limericks being Ireland's most famous form of poetry, known for the rhythmic structure and whimsical energy. Carolin and Constanza Capsali are 2 documentary filmmakers. During their stay in Glenkeen, they traveled Ireland following dry stone walls, using no cement or gluing element. Dry stone walls are simply comprised of stones being laid one next to or on top of each other. Delimiting property and cultivating what we know as the Irish landscape, these dry stone walls are quintessential to Ireland. The artist then created 2 complementary video works from the material filmed together, trying to delve into the complex relations between these constructions and the land around them. Over the course of 2 years, artist Markus Maeder has recorded the sounds of Glenkeen. By placing microphones and data sensors in the air, in the soil, and underwater, he tried to monitor the shifts in biodiversity following the weakening of the Gulf Stream. The database is now accessible online under the website Imalan Costa, which is Irish for coastline. The work of Carolin Liebl and Nikolas Schmid-Pfähler brought them into the heaps of compost of Glenkeen Garden. Trying to investigate whether biodegradable plastic indeed biodegrades, the artists collected samples of toilet paper packaging and placed it in different depths within a compost pile of the garden. The plastic pieces taken out of the compost piles were then photographed by the artists 3,000 times in order to create a high-resolution image of this process of decay. As a complementary work in the exhibition, we also can get to see the process of decay live. This biodegradable plastic bouquet will slowly dissolve during the 3 months running time of the exhibition. The process of decay and decomposition could be observed through a live stream on the artist's websites. During the 3 months of a residency, composer Tania Rubio focused on the different audio landscapes of the garden. Not only listening to the existing sounds, Tania also collected different elements in the residency house and turned them into percussion instruments. Mixing these things together, the sound recordings on the one hand and the composed sounds from the house, Tania tried to give a new soundscape to the garden called The Language of Water. The full composition, The Language of Water, will be premiered in the exhibition space in November. In the meantime, the visitors are invited to listen to the electronic component of this composition within the exhibition space.